Hello and welcome to New World Birth. By accessing this presentation, you're inviting me to share this information regarding our passage through this challenging and very hopeful time. And this is the weekly neutrino forecast for February 2nd to February 8th of 2014. Human design is based on 4 ancient wisdom systems as a bridge to understanding our potential to discover our path by making decisions that are correct for us as individuals. And those traditions are astrology, the I Ching, the Hindu Brahmin chakra system, and the Kabbalistic tree of life. And you're probably wondering how all these systems work together. Well, we start by looking at the position of the sun and the planets, the moon, the nodes in the wheel here, just as we would in astrology. But instead of looking at them related to zodiological constellations or by the angles that they make to each other, we look at them in relation to the hexagrams of the I Ching. And you can see the stacks of lines on the outside of the wheel represent the different hexagrams. And right here we can see the black circle with the dot in it. That would be the sun in the just now report, right? Slightly after midnight on February 2nd, and that's Eastern Standard Time. And all the times I'm going to be giving during this report will be related to Eastern Standard Time. So you'll need to adjust those for your local time zone. What happens is that information then is mapped into specific locations in the body graph here. So on the 2nd, as we're looking at it, we see we have the sun. It's in Aquarius, but it's in the 13th hexagram, and we can see that it is denoted as being yang, yin, yang, 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 yang lines as we go from top to bottom in their numbering. The shapes inside the body graph are called centers, and they represent the next stage in our evolution as human beings from having 7 chakras to now having 9 centers. And then the pathways between the centers are called channels, and they're from the Kabbalah. These black strips of paper on this diagram represent the gates that are being activated by the sun, the planets, and the nodes, regardless of whether they form a channel. I'm not going to follow the moon in this demonstration because it moves so fast as to activate 3 to 4 gates in a single day. The sun in the 13th hexagram is mapped to an opening in an energy channel called a gate. And this is the 13th gate is right here. This is the gate of the listener, the fellowship of man, universal ideas and values in an ordered framework which inspires humanistic cooperation. It's located in the upper right edge of the G center in an abstract collective energy path called the channel of the prodigal that connects up to the 33. I found human design to be an amazingly accurate and that I use it as my primary tool when I provide readings. So we have the following hanging gates or potentials on February 2nd. Like I said, we had the sun in the 13th gate. The earth is in the 7th gate. The north node is newly in the 50th gate, with the south node in the 3rd gate. And then Mercury and Neptune are together here in the 55th gate. Venus and Pluto are together here in the 38th gate. Mars is in the 32, and we have Jupiter in the 39 over here, and Saturn in the 43, and then Uranus is up here in the 17th gate of opinions. Obviously, not every gate activation forms a channel, but this information can be really helpful if you know your own human design chart, because some of these transits will form channels with potentials in your personal body graph. And to get your human design chart, you can go to jovianarchive.com and click on the button that says Get Your Free Rave Chart, and just enter in your birth information, and then you can use your chart and kind of follow along at home as we go through these transits, so that you're kind of aware of how these changes are affecting you, conditioning you, But the key thing, as always, with anything human design is knowing what is your strategy and authority and following that, and it will lead you to the things that are really appropriate and authentic for you. So all this week we have Jupiter in the 39 with Neptune in the 55, which brings us this channel of emoting. And it's going to be with us until March 14th, which is a time period when people are going to feel pressure in the form of an emotional wave. The best way to deal with this level of sensitivity is to appreciate the lows as well as the highs, recognizing that it's really all part of our human experience, and it's temporary for those of us who don't have that channel in our birth charts. This can really bring lessons that yield wisdom as long as we can stay in the present as we're moving on that wave that goes from hope to despair, back to hope, in a cycle like that. And we can really tap into greater creativity because this is an individual channel. It's about empowerment. With the individual channels, what we get is we get this a sense of melancholy, kind of that blue feeling. The best way to use that is to really use it for some form of artistic expression rather than, just sitting on the couch eating bonbons and watching television. So when you're kind of feeling that blue, I'm not talking all out depression, I'm talking about something where you're just kind of feeling a little off. Artistic expression is the way, is what you can use it for. Recognizing that this is a conditioning force, but we as humans are here to be conditioned. That's part of our experience. That's where we're getting wisdom as being spiritual beings that are having a human experience. The key thing that we're getting from human design is to recognize that we do not need to make any decisions based on conditioning because we have our strategy and authority. But yes, we all get conditioned. Nobody gets out without being conditioned on some level by the people in our auras and by the transiting planets. It's just, to be clear, that decisions for your own personal, in your personal life should be made based on your strategy and authority. And this channel also, individual channels are really deeply acoustic. So this brings a deep kind of romantic and acoustic sensitivity. So listening to music or talking with a loved one is really favored during this period of having this channel of emoting. So on the 2nd, we do have the sun. It's in the 13th gate and right past midnight. Again, this is the gate of the listener, the fellowship of man, universal ideas and values in an ordered framework which inspires humanistic cooperation. Right past midnight, it's still in the first line of empathy, the ability to relate and commune with equanimity. The exaltation is openness in listening to others with affection. And then the detriment is openness that is never free of motives, kind of like a politician who's kissing babies. It's sort of like, okay, they're being affectionate, but really what they're trying to do is get your vote. The sun then moves into the second line, so it was in the first line here at just past midnight of the investigator. Now it's moving up into the second line. This is the line of the hermit. And it moves into that second line at 9:50 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So again, convert it to your local time zone. The sun is detrimented in the 13-2, and it's keynoted as bigotry. The risk always present that fellowship cannot exist for a particular type, whether it's racial, religious, national, intellectual, and lately I've been finding financial bigotry in my life. This is the obsessive belief that the highest ideals cannot be embraced by the lowest of forms. An extremely difficult position where the highest ideals provide the realization of hatred, a role of openness so narrow that there is practically no one worth listening to. Also on the 2nd, we have a pretty big change coming up. Uranus moves out of the 17th gate, which it's been in for a while because it retrograded back there from the 21st gate, and and now it's returning. So it now is back into the 21st gate over here. And that's a big shift because Uranus is a pretty slow-moving planet compared to some of the more inner planets, the personal planets. In human design, Uranus is about the unusualness. And with its discovery in 1781, it brought the present evolutionary mutative undercurrent to expand our lifespan, a new pattern in life. And we see this particularly through folks who have the sixth line in their profile, but everyone probably has a sixth line somewhere in some gate where it moves from subjective during the first 28 years of life up until the Saturn return, and then it goes in what we call on the roof, where it's more objective, viewing what's going on with other people, and then after the Chiron return, it becomes transcendent. So the light in the window of our time is illuminating the gate of the hunter or huntress. Is called biting through, the justified and necessary use of power in overcoming deliberate and persistent interference. In the first line, it's warning, the use of force as a last resort, exalted the power and the ego to ensure respect, and detrimented, it's the lack of willpower that is forced to ask for respect. And then on February 3rd, the sun, again, it's still in the third hexagram, still in the 13th hexagram here, but now it moves up into the third line, the line of the martyr. This happens at 8 o'clock p.m., again, Eastern Standard Time, which is pessimism, the belief that what is best can never be achieved, in its exaltation's openness that is conditioned by suspicion and seeks evidence, detrimented where rightness of suspicion can inspire satire. And then on the 4th, the sun moves to the 4th line. So now it's moved up here from the martyr, and now it goes to the opportunist of the 13th gate again. This occurs at 6:11 p.m. Again, these are all Eastern Standard Time, which is described as fatigue. The point of exhaustion eventually reached where one is just too tired to fight. In its exaltations and openness that leads to exhaustion and the need for silence. The detriment is the role where openness is a vulnerability. The 5th, the sun moves into the 5th line, so moves up to here. This is the line of the heretic. Again, we're still in the 13th hexagram. The shift to the 5th line occurs at 4:23 p.m. The sun in the 13.5 is the savior, the ability to overcome all obstacles for the betterment of humanity. Exalted, the listener has a gift for finding a role for others. In its detriment, the listener whose gift for finding roles for others is practical and suited for administration. Sometimes these detriments and the exaltations are not that far apart from each other. Sometimes it seems like there's a world between the two, and sometimes they're very similar. Sometimes there is no detriment or exaltation, or there's no exaltation in the game. So anyway, on the 6th, the sun now moves up into the 6th line. This is the role model of the 13th gate. This occurs at 2:35 p.m. The sun in the 13.6 is the opportunist, the ability to accept any limited interaction as a necessary step towards a greater union. Exalted, it's the hope that openness will lead to better relationships. Detrimented, it's the belief that mutual interest can be projected on others. And then on the 7th, the sun moves from the 13th gate, and it moves down here to the 49, over here coming out of the solar plexus. And the Earth, of course, moves because these are move in parallel, and it moves up here, coming out of the Ajna center into the 4th gate. And this shift happens at 12:47 p.m. Again, these are Eastern Standard Time. The sun in the 49th gate of principles, it's the revolution, ideally the transformation of forms based on the highest principles and not simply for power. In the first line, the sun is detrimented. The law of necessity. Revolution has no support unless it is perceived as necessary. The sun detrimented is the misuse of influence, to insist that necessity can be created out of actions. This is the helter-skelter syndrome, to commit acts of disorder as proof that disorder exists. Oversensitivity to rejection that can turn a principle into a crusade. And then the sun moves into the second line, so it's gone from, again, the investigator up into the hermit line of the 49th hexagram on the 8th. This occurs at 11 a.m., again, Eastern Standard Time. The sun in the 49 too, it's keynoted as the last resort. The determination to exhaust every possible peaceful avenue for change, and then when satisfied that that no other course is possible, to plan in detail before revolution is attempted. The potential to explore every possibility before acting. Detrimented, the overwhelming revolutionary urge that is impatient with accommodation and negotiation, and the tendency here is a coup d'etat that has little general support. And we started the exploration of the 16 gods' heads with the keepers of the wheel last week, but with the sun's transition into the 13th hexagram, we're beginning the quarter of initiation, and with that we have a new god's head that's represented by the hexagrams 13, 49, 30, and 55, and these make up the gates associated with Kali. This is symbolic of rebirth, death, resurrection, recreation. Kali is a Hindu goddess associated with death, and she's the consort of Shiva, who is the god of death within the field of eternal time, where Kali is the goddess of change and time, typically depicted for her fierceness, but her earliest incarnations was as a benevolent mother goddess. So we're moving into initiation. So Kali has this nurturing mother energy as well as this real fierceness to her. So there are truly two faces of Kali. Kali in the human design wheel is the concretization of coming into form with the cycle of birth and death and resurrection. It's the initiation of the body and mind into the field of time. So no matter what energies are conditioning you during this first full week of February, take some time out to just be in the flow of the planet by being in nature or watching a sunrise, sunset, communing with the stars, just being conscious of the moment through introspection, meditation, being truly present with somebody you love. Every single day is a blessing, no matter what dramas are beckoning to distract us. We're all here just giving the performance of a lifetime on the world stage or in your movie. Just take some time out to observe the play as well as act your part by remembering you're a spiritual being that's having a human experience. And the best way to make sure that you're having the correct human experience for you is to be following your strategy and authority that you can get from a foundation human design reading. I want to thank you for checking out New World Birth. The next segment of the weekly neutrino forecast will be for February 9th, 2014. It should be available on the 8th, when we'll continue to look at the influences of the heavenly bodies as they transit the sky and the hexagrams of the I Ching. We're also going to be looking at the channel of transformation, which will make an appearance during the next report period. You can check us out on Facebook or YouTube. Both of those places, there are New World Birth. So if you search on New World Birth, this information is available both on the New World Birth Facebook page and the New World Birth YouTube channel. I encourage you to share this information as videos or as text as widely as you choose. I'm also going to be discussing the transits for February 2014 and providing some real short 10 to 15 minute human design readings for the participants of the Earth Needs Rebels show on Orion Talk Radio, and this will happen on Monday, February 3rd. And this is really a great thing that the Earth Needs Rebels show is doing. In that, if you get into the chat for the Earth Needs Rebels on Orion Talk Radio, then you can send them or send them an email with your phone number, and they will call you free anywhere on the planet to bring you on to the show so that you can participate in the show. As always, I invite you to contact me at newworldbirth@yahoo.com if you got any questions or wish to schedule a reading. I am providing readings, so if you've been thinking about a reading, please contact me because I would love to provide you a reading during these uncertain times. You'll need to be able to either call me in Maine in the USA, or we can connect with Skype to receive your reading. And these readings are pretty epic. I rarely do a reading under 2 hours. So we're also accepting donations here to keep these reports freely available. So if you're not feeling like getting a reading but you want to support us, please feel free to contact me again, newworldbirth@yahoo.com. But truly the best way to support us here at New World Birth is get a reading. As always, I am blessed that you've taken the time out to connect with my passion for all of these ancient mysteries and their application in our journey during this incarnation. The light in me honors the light in you. Namaste and Lakesh. And as Ra would say, love yourself. Peace, and I'll hope to see you next time.